viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
The storm is now making shore.
The Miami Hurricanes Watch with host Mike McCoy is on. The Watch is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Time for hardcore Miami Hurricanes talk. Here's your host, Mike McCoy.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Good evening. Happy 9/20/2022. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's week's been going well so far. And had some Monday Night Football. Had some football to kind of get over Saturday's loss. So I hope everybody's, doing better in that regard. I've kind of been able to digest things and just, look over and take things for what they were. And I'm still annoyed. Thanks for watching the Miami Hurricanes Watch with your boy, Mike McCoy. And going to be a good show. Got a guest coming on in the next segment. If you guys remember who number 93 defensive lineman on that national championship winning greatest team of all time, John Square, he's going to go ahead and join us and tell us what he thinks about what he thought about watching the game. And so far, after 3 games for our beloved Miami Hurricanes. And we're going to talk about the game, obviously, and then, the next opponent, Middle Tennessee State. We'll leave that for the last segment. And then, of course, the 3 real McCoys, the 3 MVPs of not just Saturday night's game, but, throughout the nation, things that I thought were worthy of getting the real McCoy. So it could be a player on the Miami Hurricanes. It could be a player on the Texas Aggies. It could be anybody, a coach. So we're going to get to it. And I really don't know where to start. Because I'm still kind of all over the place in terms of how to take things. So one thing that I want to ask John is about, and mind you, this is a player that was on a national championship winning team for the greatest college football team ever assembled, greatest college football team of all time. Don't let Nebraska fans fool you. Don't let anybody else, LSU fans, anything like that. Don't. But what I really want to ask him is, and I think I know the answer, but doesn't part of you feel like there was a moral victory in that game on Saturday? Because I know a lot of people are going to say no, but I do. I feel like there was, and there's a lot of people that aren't going to want to hear that, but I get it. I don't care. I feel like there was, and I felt coming out of the game as a fan, my head was held up high. It really, really was, because what was the narrative amongst Cane fans going into the game? Yeah, we could win. Yeah, we could win. Yeah, we could win. Yeah, we could win, right? Yeah, we could win. But if they don't, I'd feel good if they just showed up and played well. That's what they did, guys. That's what they did. The entire team showed up and played well. Coaches coached well, despite what you think of Josh Gaddis. We're going to get into that. And by the way, yes, I do feel like he called a good game. I think there's a lot of idiots out there that say he called a terrible game. No, he didn't. You don't rack up 300 and some odd yards, almost 400 yards, 392 of yards, and call a bad game. Okay, say it for what it's worth. And I've only heard a small amount of people say this. The majority of people say he didn't call a good game. The minority of people say, yeah, he called a great game between the 20s. Could have used work once he hit that red zone. That's the response to have, okay? And only people with, I guess, that know the game of football or have been watching it for long, that know what to expect year one and don't want microwave instant success like, as everything else in today's society. I think only those people can recognize that. But with that said, let's just go really quick over the box score, because I have it up here. And it's just weird, man. It's weird when you have 27 first downs. Okay, Miami wasn't as great as they wanted to be on third downs, 5 of 14. But with 27 first downs and no touchdowns, that's woo. I think that's the first time that's happened. I saw the stat. I don't have it in front of me, Sean. I don't know if you have a chance to pull that up somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. It's the first time since I think 2000, 2001, maybe 2002 that a team has had that many first downs without a touchdown. Sucks, but I mean, it's like dating Miss America, but she has an STD. That's what that stat sounds like. Like, wow, you had 27 first downs, 9 points. And those 9 points came off of 3 field goals. But 5 of 14 on third down, 392 total yards of offense, 217 passing yards, 21 of 41, about 6 or 7 drops in that. Not all of them were on the receivers because TVD will be the first one to tell you he didn't play his best game. And guess what? He said that going into the game last week. If I play how I did today, I believe he said this in the post-game conference after the Southern Miss win at home. And he said, if I play like this, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. All right, 175 rushing yards from Miami, and good for 4.9 a pop. Keep that number in mind because I want to talk about that. Very important. Let's call it 5 yards per carry, okay, on 36 rushing attempts. And the magic number, does anybody remember what that was that I said that Miami needed to win? There were a couple keys to victory, but this was the main one, all right? I said 40, as in time of possession. Miami hit 34-20. Still great. But I said 40. They didn't hit that mark. Texas A&M had 25 minutes and 40 seconds of time of possession, 124 yards on the ground, and 140 passing yards. For a team that has an explosive offense, listen, guys, Miami showed up. Miami showed up in a big way. And I'm not breaking any news here. You saw the game. And if you don't think that this is a different team from last year, then pass what your medicine man is giving you, because I'm sorry, discipline-wise, yes, there were 7 penalties for 52 yards, okay? But you want to know what I loved? Whenever, and this is going back to last week and the week before, whenever there's something that shouldn't happen, the coaches are letting you know on the spot. And if it's not a coach, it's a player. I forgot who it was that told me because I didn't catch it, and I can't remember if it was the Southern Miss game or if it was the Bethune game. But Corey Flagg had, a mental error, and James Williams got in his face. He tugged his face mask like, man, we can't have that. One of my favorite parts from Saturday's game, there was a play that was about to happen. Miami was on offense, and there was a play. The ball was about to be snapped, and the camera glanced over to the sideline and caught Coach Mario. This is. I could go ahead and curse on here. Use your head. Be smart. No more bullshit. I loved it. Oh, I loved it. I don't know if he was talking to a receiver. Somebody told me he was talking to Brashard Smith. I thought he was talking to a lineman. But, oh, my God, I loved that because there's accountability being held. And, I mean, that screams of a culture change, all right? Obviously, it's not where they want it to be at this point exactly, all right? But leaps and bounds, night and day from last year, all right? And past regimes, to for lack of a better phrase. But my God, man, let's talk about the teams, in order. So I want to talk about Texas A&M first. Obviously, they went into the game with a lot of pressure, right? You lose to App State, a team that you were supposed to dominate. I mean, let's give App State some credit, guys. Can they go ahead and join a Power 5 conference already? I mean, I feel like that program belongs somewhere in the ACC. I know things are about to get restructured, so it doesn't really matter where they go. Heck, they could be in the Big 10. They could be in the Big 12. UCF is going over to the Big 12? What a mistake. I can't wait to see them crash and burn because it's going to be so funny to watch them win like 3 games a year. Like, what are you doing in this conference? You don't belong there, UCF. You do not belong in big boy football, and I don't think that they're going to survive. I wish college football had something like they do over in with soccer, with what is it, FIFA, that has this. I don't know if it's whoever it is. The sorrier you are, the lower the division you go to. I wish it was something like that for college football, but I'm just a fan. But Texas A&M, my goodness, they went into some pressure. I'm sorry, they went into that game with some huge pressure, having lost to Texas A&M, and I was the first one to say it, but I don't think I was the only one to say it. They were not going to be the same team that everyone saw them lose to App State. That wasn't going to be the same team that showed up against Miami, okay, for several reasons. Number one, they lost, okay, and number two, everybody gets up from Miami. So they obviously showed up, give them credit, did what they had to do to win, but were you impressed? I wasn't impressed. I don't want to talk about the fan. I want to talk to the fan and about the fan. I could do both, right? About the fan, to the fan that has something to say about how Miami couldn't get things done offensively with Texas A&M being as not banged up, but they were missing a lot of guys. They were 4 key players suspended for that game. Okay, one of them was driving around like an idiot in a garage. All right, and he had the audacity to post it. Like, how dumb can you be? Like seriously, like what? Like, come on, man. He's lucky he didn't kill anybody. All right. One of the cornerbacks, I forgot who that was. One of the cornerbacks went ahead, got suspended. A bunch of their secondary. Listen, credit to them because they lost 2 guys in the first half due to targeting. There was a couple of suspensions. They lost one of their starting receivers to suspension. 4 guys, like I said, and I believe if not all were starters, 2 or 3 of them were. Okay, definitely at least 2. So I'm talking to the fan that's saying, how can Miami not have done anything offensively with that secondary missing so many players? Do you pay attention to college football enough to know that the recruiting classes that Jimbo Fisher has piled up since his time there have all finished inside the top 10? All of them. That means that the backup and the backup's backup and the backup's backup and maybe even the scout team player is not a scrub. Shut the hell up. Seriously, shut up, because it's not like if Miami was good. Those guys backing up the starters at Texas A&M probably could have started at Miami. I'm sure that if they jumped in the portal, that's somebody that Mario would go after because Mario's always trying to improve the team. Mario picked up somebody from UAB, the running back. Lucius Stanley, if I'm not mistaken, that's what his name is. Solid player. Didn't see him on Saturday, but a guy that I would put my chips on the table with because he runs hard. Okay, so I want to talk to that fan. Like seriously, what the audacity that you have to even say something like that? Like, shut up and maybe do your homework before you go ahead and tweet something stupid or say something stupid or even look stupid, because that's exactly what you looked like on social media, talking about how Gaddis's offense can move the ball against an A&M secondary that didn't have anybody back there. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Those in no specific order, those recruiting classes finished 7, 6, 6, and 3. Not necessarily in that order, but it was the 7th class, the 3rd class, and I think two sixth place finishes. And by the way, last year he had the first the best overall class that probably anybody has ever seen. Okay, so I want to talk about that. Obviously, Max Johnson started over Haynes King, more of a passer, not necessarily a guy with 2 left feet because he's mobile, just not mobile like Haynes King was. Okay, and so Max Johnson proved to be, the right decision, but those were pretty much the highlights for A&M going into the game. And then from Miami, it was really a lose-lose situation. You lose, and how the hell can you lose to a team that lost to App State? You win, and it's, well, App State beat them, so you might as well have beat them too, right? Not really. And then, again, talking to a fan that probably doesn't keep up with the game as much as they do. What do they call them? Casuals? Yeah, that's what they were. But Miami, man, shouts out. Like, I'm serious. They made everybody proud. Every fan, every alum, everybody that follows the program, they made them proud. They really, really did. Showed up. No sacks, offensive line. No sacks at all against this vaunted defense, because that A&M defense, that front 7, especially that front 4. By the way, Shamar Stewart played a lot. I was looking at his stats. I think he had 5 tackles, but 4 of them were assisted. He had 1 solo tackle. He even had a quarterback hurry. So shouts out to him. But the offensive line showed up, okay? The offensive line showed up, and it was awesome to see that they showed up. Zahn Nelson, remember he had some issues going into missed the first 2 games. Well, not the first 2 games. He did play against Southern Miss. He was available to play. Didn't start. There was no lineup changes for the offensive line. It was still from left to right. It was John Campbell, Rivers. I'm losing track who the center is. Ja'Kai Clark, and then Oluwaseun, and then Scaife, who is okay, by the way. He had an ankle, went out with the ankle, was able to come back if he needed to, but he didn't. He practiced on Monday, and Mario said he looked good, so he'll be available for Saturday's game against Middle Tennessee State. But oh my God, that offensive line, they did more than what they were supposed to do. They played a great job. I haven't had a chance to look at their grades, but I'm really, really proud of them, and you should be too as a Canes fan. And then the other part of the team that I'm really proud of, this vaunted A&M offense, right? Miami did their thing. After that, I mean, it's great to see that these coaches have the ability to adjust, and they don't wait till 3 weeks later to make adjustments or for somebody to get hurt to put somebody else in. I mean, I love it, man. I love it. I was into the. You know what that game felt like? It felt like an early '90s. I'm sorry, not an early '90s, an early 2000s, and maybe even early '90s. But that defensive struggle that you see between Miami and FSU, that's what that reminded me of. And the first team to make a mistake was probably the team that was going to lose. But I'm going to go ahead and take a really, really quick break. Trust me, there's a lot more that I have to unpack about this game. I do want to talk about Josh Gaddis, but we have John Square coming up in the next segment, national champion on the 2001 national championship winning team for the Miami Hurricanes. So we're going to step aside really quick, and we'll be right back. I'll see you on the other side of the break. You're listening to Mike McCoy on Miami Hurricanes Watch.
You're listening to the home for hardcore Miami Hurricanes coverage. This is the Miami Hurricanes Watch with Mike McCoy on the Sports Talk 305 network.
Red Recover now offers a simple-to-use, professional-grade light therapy device designed to help your dog heal and live a healthier life. Red Recover emits red and infrared light therapy based on the same science that NASA developed, all in a soft, flexible housing pad powered by a convenient, rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Say yes to science and give your dog the care it deserves with Red Recover.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're locked into the only platform truly dedicated to South Florida sports. This is the Miami Hurricanes Watch on the Sports Talk 305 network. Here's your host, Mike McCoy.
Everybody, we are back. Thank you for sticking around with us throughout that last break. You are watching Miami Hurricanes Watch with your boy, Mike McCoy. And that guy right there, that guy right there, it's to my right. I don't know if it's to your right or left. Mr. John Square, number 93 on that national championship winning Miami Hurricanes team, greatest team of all time, giving guys hell off that D-line. Sir, long time no see. How you been?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming on. You always find a way to make time for if I ever need to have you on a show. I appreciate your time, man. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. So, John, I'm still getting over the loss on Saturday. You know, the guys looked good. They showed up. They proved a lot of people wrong. But I have to ask you this because this is the perfect way to start this off. You ask any Miami Hurricane player, there's no such thing as a moral victory, right? But my goodness, I have to say I felt good watching them. And after that game, I had my head held up high. How do you feel after watching them? Are there any moral victories at all they can take from them? And just, you know, as a former player on the best team of all time, how did you feel about the boys coming out of Saturday?
Mike, that's a great question. I know for us, you know, playing on the 2001 team, there was no such thing as a moral victory. But what I will tell you is, you know, Coach Cristobal is trying to build a program. And so there are a lot of things you can take from this game, right, that I heard you speaking about, you know, like the defense, you know, being, you know, sturdier, right? So only allowing 17 points, and one of those touchdowns came from a muff punt. You know, they are starting to build an identity on defense. Offensive line, right, didn't give up sacks. Unfortunately, we couldn't complete some of those plays, and so they're trying to figure it out. And I'm sure when they're watching film, they're pointing out those things that they're working on that continues to work. And they also point out those things to where, hey, at Miami, you have to make those big plays. You have to come up with it. And so I was thinking that, right, it's no moral victories, but I did leave that game, with my head high because I can see the work that those coaches are doing.
100%, and it's very evident from what fans are used to seeing for the past, heck, since you were playing for us, John, since you wore that uniform, and things haven't been right. But a couple, years here and there, they just were far and few in between. But let me ask you about what do you say to the fan that says, I didn't like the red zone play calling. I don't know what was going on with that. Why did Gaddis choose to run the ball? And then you kind of look at the stats, they were averaging 4.9 a pop. Let's call it 5 yards a carry. So from that aspect, how do you see things, and what do you have to say to that?
It's interesting, Mike. As you can imagine, as a player, right, and as a coach, right, I've coached as well. You've gone over these things 100 times during the week, right? The game plan, if this situation happens, we're going to do this. And so it's really hard when you're watching and you're a spectator and you have absolutely no idea of why that play was called at that time, right? It's everybody's the greatest coach until you actually have to show up and coach. And so I'm sure that play was designed and it was practiced every day this week, every day last week. And, sometimes, right, what we used to say is, hey, you got to make a play. Sometimes, a play or bust, but you got to figure out how to make a play. And I think that's what this team is trying to do. Like, who is going to be able to step up and make a play when stuff doesn't go like it's planned, right? It's great to draw up X's and O's. Everything looks good on the chalkboard, but you actually have to win those one-on-one battles. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people forget, right? Texas A&M, like you mentioned in the last segment before the commercial, right? They have some highly recruited players on their team, right? And I also know this, right? When you lose a game you're supposed to win, there is a sense of urgency that you have. And so, losing to App State, coach, got a lot of criticism. And, they had to prove a point, right? And so it's like a dog being backed up against the wall, right? They had, we have to come out and make sure it's not 2 losses in a row.
I'm glad you brought that up, because at Miami, this was going to be my very next question. It's like you read my mind, segueing into the next question. You didn't lose much during your playing days at Miami. I'm talking about you individually. No. But when you did, okay, the mentality going into the next week was blood. So tell me how you guys prepared, what you did, how pissed off you were, and what Miami should be going through right now for Middle Tennessee State coming home.
Yeah, we always so in the defensive in our room, right, we had all of these goals that we had to meet, right? And so the very first thing we would do is, if we keep a team under 21 points, right, if we keep them under 100 yards rushing, if we keep them from getting a certain amount of first downs, right, that gives us the ability, if the offense does their part, gives you the ability to have a chance to win a game. And so that's the very first thing. And then you go into the segment of, hey, evaluating the one-on-one matchup. So in every play, somebody is going to be one-on-one and they have to win, right? And the coach tells you that during the week. Hey, listen, Mike, we have this pro set. You're going to be one-on-one. The team is counting on you to make a play. And I would argue that, Miami is in a place where they're trying to figure out where are those guys that can make those plays. Some of them are young, right? And so it takes time to be able to bring that out of folks, right? It's not automatic. And so I think people forget that, coaching is this trial and error of letting people fail so that they can see it, so then they don't want to fail again. And so for us, we didn't want to fail 2 plays in a row, right? Like, hey, Mike, I missed this tackle. It's not going to happen again. And so until you get that culture in the locker room, it's going to be hard, right? because you're going to continue to go through these failures, and you need that senior leadership like a Ed Reed and John Vilma to say, hey, we're not letting this happen again. And so that's the process. Like everybody knows, like Mario Cristobal is my coach. He is one tough dude, right? He is tough as nails. And I'm sure, that he's preaching that every day.
100%. I mean, everything that you said about, and I was talking about in the last segment, accountability is a big thing. Depending on who you asked, depending on who you talked to, it was lacking in years past with, different regimes that, were here before Mario, and the coaches are doing it. I've heard the players are doing it on the field during games. So if it's happening during games, it's happening at practice, it's happening in the locker room, and it takes time, but it's good to know. Even Mario brought it up during the press conference. He was talking about Xavier Restrepo, and he said that, he's a huge loss, not just on the field, because he leads by example, and he's a culture guy. So, that matters. That obviously matters. And you're listening to Miami Hurricanes Watch with your host, Mike McCoy, and Mr. John Square, number 93, from that national championship winning greatest team of all time. I don't like to call these guys, when they come on my shows, former Hurricanes, because once a Cane, always a Cane. So thanks again, John, for coming on. So, there's a lot of young receivers that Miami, when they signed them out of high school, fans like myself who follow recruiting were ecstatic about. Romello Brinson from Miami Northwestern, Rashard Smith from Miami Palmetto, a bunch of guys, even Xavier Restrepo, who's not playing right now. So somebody has to step up, and Saturday was the prime time to get that done. Nobody really did. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Michael Redding, another one of those guys who's finally getting the play time he should. Keyshawn Smith, out from California. So, again, and I hate to compare, but I just want people to know what it was like. Whenever Miami needed, on the teams that you played on, somebody to step up. What was it that was going on, in the locker rooms, and how did it? It couldn't have been an instant thing. I mean, I guess sometimes it could have been, but my guess is that it wasn't, because you're not called. I mean, you're called upon unexpectedly, especially when an injury happens. So, what do you say to the receiver in the Miami on the team right now that is expected to? Okay, this is my chance. I gotta live up to the expectations of when I signed on signing day. What do you say to that guy that maybe didn't get his chance on Saturday and probably is going to get a chance on this coming Saturday, but it's Middle Tennessee State?
Yeah, one of the things that our whole team prided itself on was getting extra work before practice and after practice, right? How many balls are you catching? Our wide receivers like, Andre Johnson and Santana and Reggie Wayne, those guys would catch passes from the juggle machine that actually shoots punch, right? So they would just catch balls in so many ways that it prepared them. And then you actually have to go out and do it in practice, right? Or you're a really good route runner. And I would say all of them, you can see the progression, as they got more comfortable. So are you doing it on the scout team, right? Are you doing it in the individual periods? How are you translating what you're learning over to those different segments of practice? And, we just had the belief that people were going to catch the ball. Like Andre's going to catch the ball. Santana's going to catch the ball, right? Because they did it over and over again in practice. And when you're going against some of the best players in the country, that when you line up against another team, you've already seen the best. And so it's going to be really hard to stop our attack. And the thing is you also have to understand the game intellectually to know where the gaps in the defense are, right? Where do I need to sit down in those holes so that I can get the ball and help the quarterback, right? Ken Dorsey was a great quarterback because he was smart. He knew how to use his weapons, right? I don't have to throw 70-yard bombs. I can throw a 15-yard and they'll take that thing to the house. And so those are the kinds of things that you really have to pay attention to when you're a young receiver. Like, how much work are you doing? How much film are you watching, right? Do you understand, are you giving away what play it is, right? If you're playing against a bigger cornerback, like, how do you get off the line? what do you need to do? And you need to watch film to see, okay, the receiver the week before had success. What were they doing? Right. And so those are the kinds of things. That was how we were programmed. Right. We were always trying to find a way to figure out how could we get a competitive advantage. And we usually did that watching film. Right. What is the weakness that this dude has across from me? Because I'm going to expose it.
You guys were good because you were football junkies.
Yeah.
And you hung out together. It was, you loved football. And that's the kind of guy that Mario made it a point, and no secret that that's the kind of guy he wants to recruit. And if he's a 5-star, then he's a 5-star. If he's a 3-star, he's a 3-star. I want guys that love the game, because you don't have to worry about what they're doing in their off time, so on and so forth. So I hear what you're saying about that. And if you're just now joining us, John Square, taking his time out of this evening, and we're really appreciative of that on the Miami Hurricanes Watch with your host, myself, Mike McCoy. John, who through 3 games, who has stood out to you in terms of being a player that, to look out for maybe this season or in the future? It could be offense or defense or both. Who's catching your eye so far?
So I would say, the defensive line, so I look at folks as units. And the reason I look at folks as units is because when you have a young team and you're trying to build it, it is how you function as a unit, right? And so, you might have guys that can win individual battles, but even the offensive line, right? They've gotten better. Not as many penalties, right? Protecting the quarterback so that, he can make the throws that he needs to make, the wide receivers have to catch. So I would say for me, the offensive and defensive line has improved a lot. Because it would be times the previous years, he never had time to even take a step back and look. And it's interesting because I know the commentators were saying, our quarterback, we're not looking off the safeties, right? And so, he's also have to, go through some development with a line that's blocking for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So different set of skills when you have time versus, I don't have enough time. I'm just going to look at the person I'm throwing it to. But when you're playing elite talent like Texas A&M, right, you have to be able to hold that safety so that you can get that second and third route. And you also have to have time to be able to get to that point, right? And so that's the things that I see. Because if you can get that right, then you can start to build the linebackers and the safeties. And one of the things we learned very early was, hey, John Villman, DJ Williams, and Rocky McIntosh, right? They're not, and even Dan Morgan, they're not going to be as effective if the offensive linemen are getting to the second level, right? And so our thing was, hey, if they get into the second level, then you better be making the play.
I love to hear that. God, I love to hear that. I wish I was a fly in the wall, or I had, the connections that I have now to know how things were. But, you and I have a friendship. So hearing you just talk is just like, I could just shut up for an hour and just hear it. But, yeah, I mean, you're right. You make a great point because, if you're used to one thing, rushing the pass, and now you have time. I didn't think about it like that. That's a really, really good point. TVD didn't have his best game. He knows that. 2 games in a row that he really didn't look like himself. And Joe in the chat, he's saying, I've never seen someone who started running sprints before they crawled and learned how to walk. The fan base needs to get that. We had people calling for Jake Garcia, who's a fine quarterback, but you can't knee jerk like that.
No, and that's the one thing. You're trying to build chemistry. Right. And when you're trying to build chemistry, one of the things I love about what Coach Cristobal did during the game when the punt returner muffed the ball, he didn't chew him out. Right. He consoled him because he knows he's going to need him. Right. Yeah. And so, he might not be ready for that now, but, he's going to think about that, and he's going to want to run through the wall for Coach Cristobal because he's going to take that to heart. Right. And so the thing is if you continue to change people that often, then the offensive line, the timing, everything is off. And, he's young, right? Our quarterback is young, and he's still learning, right? He's got a new offensive line. He's got new coaches. And so that takes time. It's not enough time to do that in camp. You have to go through game experience, right? Seeing the speed of the game at a different coaching lens is hard. And I don't think people understand that, right? Nobody shows up and says, hey, I'm going to do something to make us lose today, right? They're trying to do everything they can. And the reality is they're just not where they need to be yet. And so as coaches, like, it's our job to prepare them to be the very best they can be where they are. And I think, for fans, it's easy to say, well, I want the 2001 team. But Coach Cristobal is doing a great job. You are seeing the toughness, and that is something that that starts to build, right? And so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yep. And this is exactly what he was brought to Miami for. He was expected and has turned around the trench warfare on both sides of the ball, because obviously he's an offensive lineman, was a fine offensive lineman back in the day in the early 90s, won 2 national championships, seen the best, played against the best. So he knows how to win games. That's where it starts. And, we have a guy that played in the trenches talking about that. And it's good to see that what sticks out to John about this new team are the lines, the fronts, the O-line and the D-line, because he's going to tell it like it is. If the O-line wasn't playing well, D-line wasn't playing well, I'm sure John would tell us. But John, man, I'm going to let you go. Thank you again so much for taking the time out of this Tuesday night. I know you got things, probably playing with your family, so thank them as well. And we'll keep in touch, man. I appreciate the daily text messages, the inspirational messages that we send for, in the morning with one another.
Mike, I appreciate you, man. You're doing a great job. True Hurricane fans, you have to be patient, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. As many years as it's taken for us to decline, right? There's a process to get back to preeminence. And if you do it the right way, then you will stay, right? Amen. And so nothing that happens quick is sustainable. So I would encourage people to be patient, right? Be positive, and let's rock and roll.
Amen to that. We're going to go ahead and step aside. John, I'll text you after the show. Thanks again. All right. And all right, ladies and gentlemen, stick around. We'll be back after the break. You are listening to Miami Hurricanes Watch with your boy, Mike McCoy. Stick around.
You're listening to the home for hardcore Miami Hurricanes coverage. This is the Miami Hurricanes Watch with Mike McCoy on the Sports Talk 305 network.
Red Recover now offers a simple-to-use, professional-grade light therapy device designed to help your dog heal and live a healthier life. Red Recover emits red and infrared light therapy based on the same science that NASA developed, all in a soft, flexible housing pad powered by a convenient, rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Say yes to science and give your dog the care it deserves with Red Recover.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're locked into the only platform truly dedicated to South Florida sports. This is the Miami Hurricanes Watch on the Sports Talk 305 network. Here's your host, Mike McCoy.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking around with us throughout that last break. You're listening to Miami Hurricanes Watch. I'm Mike McCoy, the guy that hosts stuff here on the show every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, 8 to 9. Hope you like it. we just had a nice segment with John Square. Again, John, thank you so much, man. That's somebody that literally has never told me, Mike, I can't do it. All right. And he doesn't have to come on my shows when I was with Sirius XM, when I was doing student radio with University of Miami. Has never said no. Wrote a nice article about him, State of the U, when Miami was looking for an AD, because he's one that should have had his name in the hat. Was at George Washington University as an associate AD at the time, and has a goal. He's told me this, that he would love to be the first African American athletic director at the University of Miami. And for that, I mean, how can you not be a fan of that? But yeah, did his thing on the gridiron for Miami back in the day, and just an awesome guy, awesome guy. His son is playing basketball as well. I think not for George Washington. I gotta ask John, but that was last segment. We're about to wrap up the show at 9 o'clock at the top of the hour, so we still got a couple things to get into. And the real McCoys is going to be coming up in this segment. And let's just talk just to wrap up the A&M talk. I'm going to try to wrap up the A&M talk because I'm still not over it. I'm still at the point, I guess I'm immature in the sense that a Miami loss, and forget how often it's been in the past 20 years, it still feels like a death in the family, especially when you lose like that. I almost would rather see my boys get their asses kicked and lose by 50 than to lose a game that you really should have won. Miami really did. A&M didn't do anything special, and I'm going to try to put the A&M stuff to bed with this for the rest of the season. I'll try. Can't promise anything. But Miami, they beat themselves. That muffed punt was very Jeff Thomas-esque back in 2019 when the same thing happened in Orlando against the Gators, and a score was given up after that. Untimely penalties, I should say, in the red zone. Let's talk about the Gaddis stuff real quick. I don't feel at all in my head that he called a bad game, because you don't rack up 392 yards of offense and it's a terrible game. In spots where things questionable, yeah, sure, because I'm dying to see a fade in the end zone. Rhett Lashlee just was against them for whatever reason. Okay, we all know what he called in the red zone was, wanted to force feed the ball up the middle even when it wasn't there. But and I'm sorry that I don't have the stat in front of me. I had it in an article that I was working on. But if you guys pay attention to Michigan in the red zone last year, this is Gaddis. Gaddis was great at getting them into the red zone. Great at getting points while in the red zone. Not so great at getting touchdowns in the red zone. So, that goes back to last year, right? I didn't check the year before that because it just didn't matter to me. I just wanted to really check about last year because it was the year that he won the Broyles Award, that he did, an outstanding job as an assistant coach to win the Broyles Award. So that season was more important to me than any other that he's been calling offenses for whoever. And so it's not like if Miami doesn't have the size to do it, okay? And I get, people saying that, well, you still got to work your way into the lineup for a fade. We all know what a fade is, right? Like, you get out there, hey, it's like going up for a rebound, a jump ball. You got Skinner out there that could do it. You got Mallory, who played a hell of a game, and I'm so glad that he's okay after literally bouncing off of the floor on his neck. That was scary. It was really scary, but it's a testament to how in shape these guys are, because that happens to somebody that's not in shape and physically fit like that. That could have been a lot worse. So glad to see he's okay against Scaife. Miami came out the game relatively clean, if I'm not mistaken, injury-wise. So that's Skinner, that's Mallory that can get the job done. Arroyo can get the job done. Redding is good at 50-50 balls. There's plenty of height out there at the receiver and tight end position to just flex somebody out there and throw a fade. I want to see that so bad. And you don't necessarily need height to get that done, because I've seen Braxton Berrios go out for a fade. I've seen Mike Harley go out for a fade, all right? I mean, we've seen it. So for everybody that's saying, well, you didn't necessarily have size at the receiving position last year for Lashlee to call that, you don't need it. I mean, now, if the guy's covering you is a 6'3" corner and your number one receiver is a 5'10" guy, then you don't want to run that. But that hasn't been the case, That's not what's going on. But I think I've had enough of the Texas. I think I've had enough of the Texas A&M talk. It's just hard to let go, especially when you see a team that was just nobody. Everybody counted them out. You know what I mean? But okay, that's it. Done. Middle Tennessee State. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's go over the three real McCoys. Let's do that now before I head into Middle Tennessee State. And for anybody that didn't join us last week, that was the inaugural, version of the real McCoys. And what they are is MVPs of guys that I think deserved it offensively, defensively. They didn't have to be wearing orange and green. It could be Texas A&M. It's not going to be Texas A&M. It could be somebody from another team. It could be a coach. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, week 2 of the real McCoys.
We're holstered and ready to unleash this week's Real McCoys. Time to hand out awards for this week's MVPs for the Miami Hurricanes. The Real McCoys.
So this one's funny. This one's really, really funny because who does this, right? Who does this? And I'm giving him the third place Real McCoy because he has a set on him, a pair on him that is just like, whoa. I've never seen it be done before. That's not to say that it's never been done before, but everybody knows that Scott Frost was fired at Nebraska, right? Okay, yeah, he was fired, and rightfully so, because he didn't do the job that was expected of him when he was hired, okay? If I'm not mistaken, Scott Frost was at UCF. UCF had a nice little run there, but UCF is UCF, and that's why I think they're going to just crash and burn when they join the Big 12. Nebraska fires Scott Frost. They hire I can't remember the head coach's name, the interim coach's head name. I'm sorry, interim head coach's name, but that guy fired as an interim coach, fired his defensive coordinator, and I have his name, unfortunately, Eric Shenander, on Sunday, a day after his unit allowed 49 points and 580 yards in a 49-14 loss to Oklahoma. The head coach, the current interim head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, gets the third place Real McCoy.
Real McCoy. Real McCoy. Real McCoy.
That's, again, I think that's hilarious. Let me look up his name. His name is can't find it right now. Mickey Joseph. And I think he played at Nebraska for some time. I don't know if Sean, if you could confirm that, but Mickey Joseph is the head coach right now, and we'll see how long that lasts. Whatever. But the second Real McCoy, I have to think long and hard about this one because I'm trying to not keep it Canes-centric. It's hard to, okay? But I'm going to give the second place Real McCoy to the Miami Hurricanes defense because, damn it, you guys saw the game. I said I wasn't going to talk about A&M anymore, but I have to in this segment. That defense, I don't have to tell you anything. You saw what happened, okay? And I don't need to say anything else. Miami Hurricanes defense, second place Real McCoy. It is what it is.
Real McCoy.
And the first place Real McCoy is very, very simple. No sacks allowed. Third game into the Mario Cristobal era. Even with a healthy Zion Nelson being available for the game. Didn't start. Came in spot duty as right tackle. The offensive line for the Miami Hurricanes, led by somebody that wasn't expected to be their best offensive lineman coming into the season. Because in my opinion, the best offensive line coming into the year is going to be Ja'Kai Clark. A lot of people said Jalen Rivers, rightfully so. He was Miami's best offensive line last year before he went down with an injury. But John Campbell is holding it down. But I got to give the unit some love. Miami O-line, Real McCoy number 1.
Real McCoy.
And Terry, could you repeat that question? I'm not exactly sure. Mike, what's your thoughts on Frass? I'm not sure if that was a typo, but if you can kind of come back with that, I'll be happy to address it. But yeah, going back to John Campbell really quick. John Campbell, 4th year or maybe 5th year guy out of Orlando, and finally showing up. Okay, whether that was whatever the case was with him, that he probably wasn't producing how Canes fans thought he would. It's finally showing up now, and better late than never. And the man looks like a left tackle. He's looking really, 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 really good out there. Again, in my opinion, Miami's best offensive lineman. No shade to Rivers, no shade to Shakai Clark, but he's leading the way. Again, no sacks allowed. That's what's up. That's what's up. Frank Ladson, another guy that could go up for fades in the red zone, especially when you're inside the 5-yard line, like how Miami was on that keeper for TVD. Frank Ladson, I don't know what the deal with him is, all right, but he's definitely a guy that's, you want to know who he reminds me of? So Brian Monroe said this. Brian Monroe joined me on a show about a year ago. He's been showing me several times actually, but he said this about Frank Ladson. I'm sorry, about Ryan Moore. Ryan Moore, if you guys remember him back in the day, wore number 85, 5-star receiver out of the Orlando area, came to Miami, had an up and down career, didn't have the career that many expected of him. Was in the room with Lance Leggett, who joined us last week. If you missed it, go ahead and look it up on the YouTube channel under Big O. And Akeem Jala, Darnell Jenkins, those guys. Ryan Moore, this was said to me by Brian Monroe, that was an NFL talent. NFL talent. Easy. Just didn't work for it. Didn't work hard enough. Okay. Had the speed, had the size, had the strength, had everything except, was between the ears. That's how it is with most guys, unfortunately. But he just, that was an NFL player. Frank Ladson to me is an NFL player. All right. A lot of guys, he's one of the fastest guys on the team from what I was, told, and guys that I know, especially watching him in the spring. And it's weird because in the springtime, he was killing it. He had a very good spring. And I don't know if there's an injury holding him back. I don't know what the deal with is. I'm not going to pretend to be an insider. I can find out for you, but that's definitely the guy that Miami needs to step up. That's a guy that can stretch the field. Okay, that's a guy that can win one-on-one balls. All right, and you want him to succeed, especially, maybe I'm biased in this sense, but he's a South Florida guy. And when South Florida guys have success at Miami, it goes a long way recruiting. Ask anybody. And if it doesn't make sense to you, go ahead and ask somebody. Guys that are from Miami, that succeed at Miami, means a lot more than guys from California, from Texas, from Ohio. Not that their success doesn't mean anything to local recruits or not. No, it does. I'm sure it does. You want to see anybody at your position excel if you're a high school recruit. Oh, he's doing that at Miami, and that offense, and I'm a receiver. I need to go there. Yeah, he's a running back killing it behind that O-line. I need to go. But it matters more when you're from here. And that is something that I can tell you from experience, from guys telling me. I didn't play at Miami. I didn't play high school football. I'm a basketball player. I'm a hoops guy, and I'm a high jumper. But that matters. All right. So I don't know what the deal is, Terry, but that's definitely a guy that Miami needs to step up. My fave, the guy that I have circled, is Romello Brinson. Local guy, has all the tools in the toolbox, and so it's just a personal favorite of mine. After that catch that you saw last year, that I'm still trying to figure out how he caught it against whatever high school Miami played in, what was it, like third game of the season, Central Connecticut State, that high school, that scrimmage. That was a crazy catch. Dude is ultra talented, and so we'll see about that. But I need to talk about Middle Tennessee State. I haven't. All I can tell you about them is they go 4 receiver sets a lot. Not 3 receivers and a tight end like Miami likes to make that 4th receiver Will Mallory, and it looks like a 4 receiver set, and it's a tight end out there. They go 4 receiver sets all the time. Okay, so they're going to chuck it all the time. Okay, the good thing about it is that, this guy's been around forever, so he probably knows every coach in America. All right, Kevin Steele knows the head coach very well. He emphasized very well, obviously off the field, but knows what he's about, X's and O's wise, play calling wise. So he's familiar with that offense, and defensively, they're going to bring pressure. They're going to bring pressure a lot like Southern Miss did. But the good thing about it is they're going to bring pressure after Miami has seen probably one of the best defensive lines that they're going to see all season. Clemson has a hell of a defensive line. And shout out to, and prayers, if you guys can, really quick, to Clemson defensive tackle Brian Brzee, 2nd or 3rd year guy, 5-star guy coming out of high school, ultra talented defensive tackle. He lost his younger sister sometime last week. I'm not sure if he played in Saturday's game, but since I was talking Clemson and I brought them up briefly, that came up into my head, and I just want to, put a nice little shout out there for him and his family. I hope they're okay. But after playing one of the best defensive lines you played all year long, and prior to that, facing a team that brought exotic pressures from pretty much everywhere, a team that blitzed more than 50% of the time in Southern Miss, okay? Miami should be ultra prepared and eager to prove themselves yet again in this challenge. What I wish was different about the upcoming week was that I wish this week was a bye week. I really do wish this week was a bye week, and then Miami has Middle Tennessee to tune up for the ACC schedule, which starts after next week's bye week. I believe it's UNC comes calling to Miami Gardens. And so I just wish it was like that, but it isn't. Miami has this game that they got to deal with, and then they have a bye week. All right. They have a bye week, and then the ACC schedule starts. I want to see Miami win by at least 30. Okay. If this is the progress that for the progress that Coach Cristobal wants to see, I'm pretty sure that, just like John said, he didn't lose much throughout his time at Miami, but when they did, everybody felt sorry for that next opponent. All right. So if fans are wanting to see the progress that they hope, they should see a pretty pissed off Miami team put up a good, I want to say at least 40, minimum 40. I have no idea what the line is. You betting guys out there, Jeff, I see you in the chat. What's up? Jeff likes to bet. And I don't know what the line is. If you guys can, put that out there really quick, because we're about to wrap it up in a little bit. But I'm going to tell you what, Miami has an identity now, okay? And that identity is what? You know it. It's running the ball. So I am not going to be surprised to see Miami running the ball a minimum of 30 times. But TBD has to get on track. TBD has to get on track. It's 2 weeks in a row that it's subpar performances, and I think he'd say that. I'm not putting shade on at all on his part, but I think he'd tell you that even himself. So I wouldn't be surprised to see TVD in there into the second half, even if Miami is up comfortably. You know what I'm trying to say. But you just don't want him going cold into a bye week, and then an ACC opponent, live bullets, when it really, 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 really matters, because Miami's trying to get to Charlotte in December. I'm trying to get to Charlotte in December, okay? I think Miami's going to toss the ball around the yard. They still have to find a receiver that's going to step up. So I think that, yes, Miami is going to be running the ball, because that's who they are. They are a running team, and don't let anybody tell you different. Somebody had the nerve to tell me Miami has yet to find its identity. Because I'm on Twitter a lot. Miami has 26.5 favorites. Thanks, Terry. I appreciate that. They got to win by that. I said 30 without knowing what the line was. They got to win by at least 30, okay? And they can't allow – I don't want to see Middle Tennessee State hit 20. I don't want to see them hit 17. All right? Play pissed off, play like a Cane is supposed to. But that's pretty much what you need to know about Middle Tennessee State. They pass the ball around the yard a lot. Okay, they're gonna bring pressure a lot. And really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know what their numbers are through 3 games. I am going to bring it up in a second, and I apologize for not having that up. But here we go, Middle Tennessee State. And where is it? Sorry about that. It's coming up in a second. I don't know why the Wi-Fi is tripping. But here we go, Middle Tennessee State. So it's a 3:30 kickoff. I won't be at the game. Obviously, we're going to have the 2-hour pregame and then the 2-hour postgame right here on this network. And then on ACC Network if you're going to the game. So through 3 games, here are their numbers. Here it is. Statistics. Boom. So they're 2-1. They're 3rd in Conference USA. All right, the Blue Raiders. And so Chase Cunningham, he's thrown for through 3 games, 592 yards. All right, has a 72.6 completion percentage, but has only thrown 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Has been sacked 8 times. Not a good number. So tea time for Miami's defense. At least that's what it sounds like. Through 3 games, their leading rusher is Frank Peasant, 218 yards on 44 carries, good for 5 a pop. Has 5 touchdowns. His long is 85 yards. Something to look out for. Chase Cunningham is their 2nd leading runner. Not a good thing. Chase Cunningham, their starting quarterback, has 26 carries on the season. They got to be designed carries, right? I mean, they're designed, 26 times. So 28 yards on that front. He has a touchdown. And their leading receiver has a $156, 20 catches, no touchdowns. Their leading receiver, but they have three guys that have tallied one touchdown. They have three guys that have 15 or more. I'm sorry, two guys have 15 or more receptions, and three guys with at least 100 yards receiving. This is through 3 games, guys. Miami's receivers probably look something similar. I'm going to go ahead and read their stats really quick before we go. So that tells you a little bit about their offense. And then really quick, just team stats for Miami for anybody that isn't aware of them. I don't know what Miami's all team stats are through 3 games. So let's look at them defensively really quick. TVD, 671 passing in the air through 3 games, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, has been sacked 4 times. Henry Parrish, no surprise there, 302 yards on the ground. On 53 carries is really close to 6 yards a pop, 5.7. Might as well call it 6 a pop. Thad Franklin, second leading rusher on the team, 126 yards through 3 games, 22 carries, also averaging 5.7 a pop. Only got 1 carry on Saturday, and I think that happened because of the simple fact that Miami needed speed on the field. Miami really needed speed on the field, except in the red zone. That's the only. There's 2 things that, and look, I'm not going to complain about 2 things where Gaddis, I obviously would have done something different. I mean, look, I'm no X's and O's guy. I'm no offensive coordinator. He knows tons of more football than I do. But if there was something that I probably would have done different, is I would have probably seen Thad on short yardage situations, especially in the red zone, right? And I probably would have tried to fade, because I'm a fan of it, and Miami has personnel to do it. We just talked about Ladson, Skinner, true freshman, number 23, Mallory, Arroyo, anybody, and Redding, anybody. Give me a fade, give me something. But Thad is the second leading rusher on the team, and then Jalen Knight, 20 carries, 96 yards, 4.8 a pop. Receiving-wise, no surprise there, 172 yards through 2 games, on 11 catches, 1 touchdown. Michael Redding, 105 yards on 8 catches, and Keyshawn 91 yards on 6 catches. So Andy, 6 of 8. Andy's gonna do his thing. Andy's gonna, he's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a stud. He is a stud. And James Williams through 3 games has probably been Miami's best defender. Corey Flagg, the Corey Flagg haters, he's telling y'all to kiss it. He's telling y'all to kiss it. He's playing very well through 3 games. 15 total tackles, 5 assisted, 10 solo tackles. Okay, played really good. Cam Kitchens is doing a great job tackling in the open field. Had a really good tackle, I think, in the first half, set the tone. 12 tackles there. And shout out to DJ Ivey, man. All right. He told all of the haters to sit down and watch this. All right. I hope it hopefully that was a turning point. Hopefully that was a turning point, because can you imagine if Miami has just one lockdown cornerback? I got this side of the field, guys. Don't even worry about it. That changes a bunch of stuff defensively for Miami. But we'll see. Hopefully it translates to the next week and the week after and the week after and the week after, when we see, the talents that everybody thought that DJ Ivey was going to show consistently. Okay, not that he doesn't have it, that he was going to show consistently coming in after signing on the dotted line out of South Day Senior High School. Guys, I'm out of time. I'm not out of material, but I got stuff to do. If you guys didn't catch the show from the beginning, I'm sure it's going to be up shortly after the episode is wrapped up here. We had the Florida College Football Roundtable before me. So every Tuesday, 7 to 8, that's going to happen. All right. Manny Navarro, and I can't remember off the top of my head the beat writers for the Gators and the Noles that are joining the platform. And so that's 7 to 8 every Tuesday. And then I'm here from 8 to 9. And there'll be another guest next week. I'm working on another guest. I think I already have him set. I don't want to announce him, but it's another guy that you guys should be familiar with. And that's pretty much it. I appreciate everybody tuning into the Miami Hurricanes Watch with me, Mike McCoy. Follow me on Twitter right there. And that's pretty much it. Hope everybody has a great and safe week. Go Canes. Beat that ass.
You've been listening to the Miami Hurricanes Watch with host Mike McCoy on the Sports Talk 305 network. The Watch is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Please subscribe to the Big O Radio Show on most platforms. Thank you for supporting the Miami Hurricanes Watch. Have a great night, Canes fans.